jak Riot pokračuje v cenzurování League of Legends. Asi jestli pamatujete, tak jsem dělal jedno video, kde je tady ta cenzura, jakoby v Číně hlavně, že jo? Jak tam třeba do Vovka místo lebek ve Vovku v Číně, tam dají třeba chleba, nebo bramboru velkou. A takže třeba příšera, která má na sobě všude lebky, tak je prostě z brambor. Takhle tam cenzurujou hry. U nás to není tak hrozný, tady nevadí lebky, ale v Číně jim vadí prostě lebky, no. Třeba ve hrách. To bude asi spíš z té čínské části, si myslím, tady to video, o té čínské cenzuře, ale uvidíme.
In 4Kids TV censored a scene of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime where two men point guns at another character. The solution was to replace the weapons with aggressive finger pointing.
Se vyměnili guny za prsty, OK.
20 years later, Riot Games used the same solution in their card game.
Fakt? V karetní hře a v Číně samozřejmě, že jo?
Whether it's reducing the size of female characters' assets or having to follow specific rules to comply with international regulations, League of Legends is no stranger to censorship. At times, even the game's entire existence gets censored in entire countries due to international political issues.
Kill your friends, guilt-free.
But before we get into how League continues to be censored, today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game.
Sorry, na to nekoukáme.
Of course, although these changes are small, they entirely changed the point of the emote, taking them from a very hyped release to emotes that realistically players no longer care for. And real quick, in case you're out of the loop, Akali's emote was adjusted due to appearing to mock the size of men's you-know-what, which is a controversial topic in certain countries. And then the penguin emote almost got away with it, but it references a ping that was previously removed because players were using it for not its intended purpose.
They're giving me the rope emoji. They're all telling me to kill myself!
However, it would seem that this batch of emotes are cursed to continue being controversial, as the emotes officially released in the store on August 29th, but now some players are directing their attention to a new potentially problematic emote. A few people online believe that the emote titled "Let Me Breathe," featuring Cassante wearing an oxygen mask, is a little insensitive. This being because some players see this as referencing the George Floyd situation that happened in 2020. An emote featuring one of the few black characters in the game wearing an oxygen mask titled "Let Me Breathe" might seem a little bit too on the nose for some players. But for the context, this is definitely referencing the huffing on copium meme when all one can do is cope. This emote was created by one of the Vietnamese teams, and a Vietnamese player in the replies stated that this is a popular meme in their region. Ironically enough, both the Akali and Penguin emotes were not initially negatively received, but this one, which is causing negative discourse, albeit by a small section of the community, will likely not be censored, as it's already gone through. But who knows? At the end of the day, I doubt this was made with bad intentions. If I could make a prediction,
George Floyd, no?
though, I think they might just change the name. Update, as I was finishing this video, on September 2nd, 5 days since releasing the emote, Riot has officially changed the name. From being "Let Me Breathe," the emote is now called Cope Sante. In the past, we've talked about censorship in Wild Rift, the mobile
Takže tam furt je, akorát to přejmenovali.
Version of League, and
Počkej, to je Wild Rift. Tohle je Wild Rift a tohle je model na Lolku, kámo.
Wild Rift.
Ty vole, to je docela rozdíl, že? To je docela rozdíl, kámo.
The mobile version of League and Legends of Runeterra, the card game, though that was a couple years ago. In Wild Rift's case, since then, they've brought more champions and skins from the base game into the mobile version, each time creating brand new models and splash arts. Truthfully, these are often better than the ones in the PC version. But just to make sure, everything is quote-unquote censored just to appease every region's regulations, just in case. The most common form of censorship in comparison with the PC version is the clothing on female characters. In general, if a character or skin has some sort of cleavage or lack of fabric in certain areas, Wild Rift versions go in and make things a bit
Wild Rift je hlavně v Číně, že jo, populární asi, takže.
Bit more tame. Janna in the main game is generally almost naked, and in Wild Rift she was heavily adjusted.
A jako upřímně ta verze mi třeba přijde lepší, protože by měla být polonahá, vole, ta Jana. Že ona je, že ona lorově je prostě bohyně, proč by bohyně měla být, vole, skoro nahá až? Proč by měla tu potřebu se takhle obnažovat?
And they maintain this with every skin that comes to Wild Rift since her release. This goes the same way with champions like Sona, Vayne, Lux, and almost everyone. But it's fair to say they did a good job, as there's still good depictions of each character. And in some cases, makes more sense. Like, to be fair, Orianna as a robot cyborg probably doesn't need to be depicted with cleavage in a corset. So in Wild Rift, her gothic skin was heavily adjusted, and it looks significantly better. Though I should mention the original splash art.
Tak hlavně výstřihy cenzurujou, no. V Číně hlavně, u nás ne. U nás kozy prodávají, že jo. V Číně jsou naopak zakázaný.
Is from 2011, so it probably needed to be revamped anyway. In the same vein, League of Legends actually just opened a new server in a new region, this being the Middle East, a region where generally not everything that flies in the West will be well received. So a few adjustments were made there as well. For the most part, they're using versions of champions used in the Chinese version of the game, which are already the most censored.
To vypadá ale zvláště trochu už, no. Ale možná je to tím, že na to asi nejsem zvyklý úplně, ale...
And from this Reddit comment, they apparently also removed any voice lines mentioning deities or gods. Something like...
Deities? Co je deities? To budou nějaký náboženský problémy, že tam nemůžou být ani bohové? Božstva nebo bohy?
Like God King Darius and God King Garen are instead named Leader King. The comment
Leader King
also mentioned that Pantheon's voice line talking about cruelty of the gods was changed to say cruelty of the tyrants, for example. But on the topic of voice lines, there are voice lines in the game, whether it be in English or not, that haven't only been changed, but after some time, completely removed. For example, the champion Aatrox had voice lines mocking the enemy player if said player flashed their mastery.
Mastery. I must congratulate you. Obviously, your parents
never had a reason to.
Never had reason to. Yes, your mastery is the master of masters. I am fighting an imbecile. Somehow, I doubt you've mastered self-esteem.
Although there's no specified reason for why these voice lines are no longer in the game.
Aatrox má dobrý roasty, no. Má jich tam ještě víc. Kamil říká, nůžky místo nohou. Myslel jsem, že jsem už stupidní designy viděl předtím. Viděl dříve.
A Riot employee on Twitter did respond to someone bringing this up, and from what they said, Aatrox was apparently the only champion that had voice lines reacting to someone flashing their mastery. Regardless, they said they should work, and they'll get to work on restoring them.
On jich má třeba tak 300 těch hlášek, no. Myslím, že jich má nejvíc ve hře.
That was from 2 years ago.
I guess people sort of forgot about us.
On the other hand, champions like Evelynn and Kayn both have voice lines that are no longer in the game, most likely due to them feeling a bit too inappropriate.
Ooh, so many joyful people to hurt. Show me the man who has everything, and I'll show you my next victim. The moment they think they have me.
To tam furt má, ne? Nebo jenom v Číně to vycenzurovaný zase? On to neřekl, že? Jestli v Číně nebo u nás.
Yeah, that's what I live for.
How sad. You would have made an excellent concubine.
Okay, tak tohle už je divný, no. Excelentní konkubína by si byla. To už je trochu... To už je možná trochu moc, no, a i na Čínu. Na Čínu určitě, ale i pro nás možná.
So every time I make a video like this, I in passing mention that many games censor blood because of its
v Číně není ani kapka krve v žádné hře, no.
Restrictions in China. So to avoid any issues, most time blood is either entirely removed.
Pravidla ulice, nech se sfaulovat.
Or recolored to a different color in order to pretend that characters aren't actually bleeding. For example, some anime in China censor blood with the color.
No, počkej, jsem někde, jo, když se podíváte na ten starý cinematik, nějak, jak tam je ta Leona a Ahari a běhají tam, utíkají tam před tím Dariusem, tak jak Darius zapíchne sekeru do Leonina štítu a v naší verzi je tam krev, že jo, všude, že on jí prostě jebne, vole, sekeru do štítu a nějak se tam zem, ta leona, a je tam všude kolem ní krev. A v čínské verzi tam je všude bahno prostě, třeba, jo, a tak podobně.
White, which ends up making some questionably awkward scenes.
Co? Místo krve tam dávají mlíko.
Anime in China censor blood with the color white, which ends up making
To vypadá ještě divnější, jako. To vypadá daleko divnější, než kdyby tam byla krev, ne?
some questionably awkward scenes. Now a question that always comes up is what does Riot do with Vladimir?
No, tak to nevím, háže vložky třeba? Zakrvácený, nebo?
Since his whole character consists of using blood for all his abilities. Well, in the servers where Riot would face an issue for having blood in the game, all of his ability particles are now just colored black instead of red. Sometimes also purple. This is also visible in LPL matches, which makes sense because they're hosted in China. However, these regulations are pretty inconsistent, as for the most part, they still use his splash art where he's waterbending with a red liquid. In general, this rule is for age restrictions, and sometimes it's not enforced for one reason or another. For example, that white blood censorship in China that makes everything look sus, that's not real. It goes viral on Twitter and Reddit every once in a while.
To je Chainsaw Man. To je jako Leatherface, nebo něco podobného jako Leatherface, který je celý od mrtky, nebo od mlíka, jo. Co je tohle? Ty vole. Vedeli mlíko, nebo co?
But it's simply not true. They do sometimes censor anime episodes for other
Takhle velký boobies, no.
reasons,
Chápu.
but the white blood thing is fake. In conclusion, don't trust the internet.
You really think so?
Takže ta bílá věc je fejková, jo? To je jenom internet si tohle upravil. OK, no. Podle mě fakt, kdyby tam byla bílá věc místo červené, tak je to ještě horší než s tou červenou věcí, ano. To jim asi taky došlo, doufám.
Someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Thank you for watching. Remember to check out War Thunder in the first link in description, as the bonus bundle will only be available for a limited time only. The game is available on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox. And with that, I'll see you again in the next video.
Čeknu to, dám tam like, no dobré no.